when did you realize that you guys were going to, especially the first track being Heat of the Moment and it took off? Did you realize after hearing it that yeah, we're gonna go to number one and stuff, or what was the confidence like?
Wow. Um, we were we were just we were taking the ride at that point. I mean, from the time that we got there, we were there for about 2 months, and before we actually got into the studio and actually started recording. But from the time we started recording till maybe April or so, we'd wrapped up the recording. As you know, there were only 8 tracks on that first album, debut album, and so it wrapped up pretty quick. So things were moving pretty rapidly. We were kind of jettisoned into a machine, a legitimate record label, and uh, fully outfitted with publicity department, promotional department, video. I mean, it was an experience, but we were just trying to keep pace, taking it all in, trying to ask the right kind of questions because we felt like we need to know more about what it is that we're doing because it was happening so quick, and
Wow.
it did happen. It happened quickly, and we recorded a video and the video was out and then it was on BET. So when you were on BET, you were automatically famous.
Yeah.
Let alone what it was doing at the radio. So we went from being three individuals doing our own respective jobs in different fields to swept away, gone for less than probably 6 to 8 months. And next thing you know, we're on TV, and it was a whirlwind. Where we were, where it went to on the charts, I don't know that we were really even measuring how much that meant, other than the fact that hey, we got a record on the radio, we got a video on BET, and now what's the next thing? Because that's where we were. It was hurry up, pick up, and figure out what happens next. And so it was. Then it was a matter of now you guys got to try to figure out how to go support. And so at that time we were doing radio in stores.
Okay.
Remember that stuff, Keith?
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, doing a lot of radio in stores and so. And then you had to go support your record by, hopefully, if it's out there long enough, people want to see the act that they hear performing on the radio. And so it was time to hit the road, Jack. That's what we had to do.
I mean, was it fun though, Keith?
Oh yeah, it was a lots of fun. It was a lot of hard work. We rehearsed a lot. We realized that our live show was the bread and butter. Once we realized that, we worked hard at it and spent a lot of time developing that part of our craft in small venues. And of course, soon after, as Heat of the Moment went up the charts, um, by the time we got to Ready or Not blowing up, we were fortunate to be put under the wing of Al Heyman, and
Oh,
we
I'll
became
him it.
the
But
best.
Superfest,
Oh,
Budweiser
Yes,
Superfest.
oh,
Budweiser.
he's an encyclopedia over here.
Wow. Yeah.
His he was responsible for putting us in a lot of places those first 2 years after the album broke, and we toured basically for 2 years. So we really probably should have got back in the studio, but
Mm.
it was an opportunity to make money and an opportunity to develop ourselves as you know live artists. And you don't say no. You just kept going, kept going, kept going. But it has paid off for us because we we were blessed to be able to perform with some of the greats that were from
Absolutely.
the 70s and from the
Oh,
80s, and some artists from the 60s that we were, from Smokey Robinson to Gladys
wow,
Knight, Patti LaBelle, Frankie Beverly, um,
wow.
Whitney Houston, Hammer, uh, Regina Bell. I mean, it's a host of great artists. Gerald Levert.
Peebo Bryson.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So we've been on stage with a mirage of people, and every one of those opportunities helped to make us that much better when it came to being on stage and getting comfortable at it. But we were passionate for the music. It's just the love of the music.
Now, because you mentioned being teamed up with Al Heyman, and he was known for putting on these massive R&B shows, New Edition guy, and Guy, and all this stuff. But at that time, were you aware of how the business part of the industry works? Where, okay, you may be famous, but unless you're writing all the songs and don't sign some shady publishing deal, you need to go and make money on tour. To commit to doing a tour that which took 3 years before your next album came out.
Well, you want to add? Go ahead, Kevin.
No. Go ahead. I'm not sure where I heard the question, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's because I was asking because you were on a tour, which meant that your sophomore album didn't come out until I think 3 years, 92, 3 years later. So. But being on tour and committing that long on the tour instead of being back in the studio recording, were you aware at those early stages about how the industry, the business part of the industry was financially, where, okay, tour money is pretty much how you make the money unless you're writing and getting all the, especially if you're writing and stuff?
All right. Well, we weren't, we were primarily vocalists, okay? And most of it, all of it, not most at least, most of the songs that we performed were written by and produced by other people. Here is where we were unaware of how critically important it was to get back into the studio, and that 3 years, that 3 year turnaround. We probably, in all honesty, we should have gotten back into the studio probably a year and a half later. But the thing was, for us, is that we were a performing group, and we were having opportunities being presented to us back and forth, whether it was with the Whispers, then it was MC Hammer, and after MC Hammer came the Whitney Houston "I'm Your Baby Tonight" tour.
Wow.
Do you turn those down? You don't turn those down. You go to work, and that's what it was. But what we didn't fully grasp was how urgent or how critical it was to get back in the studio and give them new product. And I think we missed that boat each time. So, that's why there was such a long period in between each one of our records, is because we were a group that had a reputation for performing. And we would go perform, and when they say support that record, we fully understood what that meant. And hey, that's your bread and your butter. Go get it, right? And that's kind of what we were doing.
On Virgin, I know most people might remember Virgin when they signed this big deal with Janet, and I remember Tony.
We were there.
Yeah, and I remember Tony Terry. I've interviewed him, and he mentioned going to Virgin. But how many other urban acts were on Virgin at the time when you guys were there, to see why they didn't push to get you back in?
We were one of the few. I mean, ultimately they signed Janet. Then didn't they sign a little boy group, Keith?
They had EU.
Yeah, they had EU. Soul to Soul, but they were
from the
across
UK.
the pond.
Yeah,
right, exactly. There weren't a lot of other R&B acts that I can. Oh, they did. Ultimately, they signed Layla. They brought Layla, but these were in the latter years. But during that time that we were there, in that time frame, I don't know that there was a host of many other R&B artists, so to speak, that were signed to the label. And they ended up signing to Lenny Kravitz. Did they have Maxi Priest? I think at one point in time too. Yeah, so there were a handful, but not totally full R&B that I can recall.
Yeah, because I was wondering why they didn't. They weren't insisting. Come on, guys, we need another album. Even while you're on tour, do some recording and then go back and especially if they don't make the money on the tour with you guys. They were just like, yeah, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Well, back in the day, they were going to make generally they were making their money anyway, but, I can't say that maybe we weren't probably a little hard to deal with, a little hard headed, and maybe we out here making our money and we ain't ready to go back into the studio. That's a organic kind of thing that has to happen, and in retrospect, I can look back and say, absolutely, we should have absolutely been back in the studio a year and a half or later. It was kind of hard to see, I think, for us to see why we would do that when we have this amount of music on a record. But
Hey everyone, I want to thank you for being part of Halftime Chats. This new update is really about our membership, and I'm really excited to be able to fully launch the membership page. There will be things like full interviews from day one. As soon as the interview drops, you get access to it without any ads on it. There'll be some exclusive member-only videos that will just be some behind-the-scenes stuff and some other things that we will never be broadcast. For some members, you can be able to get actually 2 interviews, because I do have a backlog of almost 7 or 8 interviews that I don't even know when I'm going to be able to broadcast them. So you're able to get at least some of those up front, and some just behind the scenes stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that I have never been able to talk about or release. For everyone else, the videos will still be the same. Over a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks, depending on how long it is. So everything stays the same. The polls stay the same. The community chats, the community stuff stays the same. But I think with the membership stuff, I'm able to add a little bit more and invest a lot more time and energy in really supporting the members. So I do hope you come on that ride with me. I appreciate the support, and this will just help me continue to invest in taking things to the next level. Take care.